I am reaching out because here in Quebec, I started a project that is going to be meeting Zoom meetings for survivors because we don't have that in my country.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year, around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. And when we do talk about it, many of us, including me, well, we're not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations, and hopefully better conversations, with attempt survivors. Now, we're talking about suicide, so this may not be a good fit for everybody. Please take this into account before you listen. I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to share your story, I'd love to talk. Please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com or on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. And as always, I want to thank all of our attempt survivors who have joined me on this podcast to share their stories so openly and so bravely. And to everybody who listens. We started this podcast back in July, and we have had more and more listeners in more places. So thank you. I really appreciate it. If you want to help out in some other ways, hey, please let people know about this podcast. If you listen on Apple, rating, reviewing, and subscribing help. It helps other people find the podcast. And if you'd like to make a one-time or ongoing financial contribution, I'll put a link in the show notes to our Patreon page. Today, I am talking with Eloide. Eloide lives in Quebec, Canada, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Eloide, what a cool name.
Thank you. It's Canadian.
It's a Canadian name?
I think it is. Well, you pronounce it Eloide, but it's fine.
Eloide.
Yes.
How was that? Eloide.
It's fine. Either way, it's fine.
Okay. How did we connect? Do you remember?
I actually went on a Facebook page and I saw that you were interviewing people. I actually went and found your WhatsApp.
That's right. That's not a common thing. It was really interesting that you found that. I'm glad you did. And can you share with whoever might be listening to this, right?
Yes.
What you shared with me in terms of why you reached out and what sort of situation you're in of late?
Yeah. Actually, the 11th of May, the 11th on last month, actually, I tried to kill myself. I took a lot of pills, a lot of wine. Actually, I took 4 bottles and I drank them so fast. All I remember actually was I screamed from the top of my lungs. I said, if you exist, you have to prove it because right now my life is not worth living and I cannot do this anymore. I want to die, please. I begged for dying. Yes. I never prayed that much. I'm not a religious person, but right now I am indeed a religious person because God proved me that this day he was with me.
Really?
Yes.
All right. So, of course, I want to know more about that. You had said, if you can make some sense of sort of what led up to that, that day. But before then, can you tell me what you mean when you say God? I believe you said God saved you. Was that your words?
Yes, it was actually because my heart stopped 2 times and I had arrhythmia, real bad arrhythmia because I took a lot of pills.
Mm-hmm.
I was overdosing
Mm-hmm.
and I drank too much for my weight. So I was in a coma for about 2 days.
Wow. So I assume you're in a hospital, right? You were taken to a
Yeah.
hospital.
And they had to intubate. And I woke up, I was intubated. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I didn't know if I was gone. I knew that my mind was there, but I couldn't move. I couldn't speak.
Wow.
So that was scary.
Right. And you, at that point, obviously have no idea if that's going to be permanent.
Right, right. The damage, and I have two boys. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And actually, that scared me to the point where I don't want to die anymore, because I really, like, that was very close. I could have died. I could have died.
Yeah. How can I ask your age or age range?
I'm 24, and my story begins. I had a very hard journey, but
Mm-hmm.
my life is not over yet.
No, clearly not.
No.
One of the things that's interesting is always like I always wonder, I always am so curious what compels people to reach out and say, I'm gonna share what some of the stuff I went through and then follow through with it. And me,
Yes.
right? And now, like you're a perfect example. You're actually here talking with me
Yes.
through the benefit of technology. I'm in North Carolina. You're in Quebec.
Quebec. Yes, I am indeed.
And we're talking about something that was rather recent.
Yes, 31 days ago.
Right. Right. So thank you for
Well,
reaching
you're
out.
welcome. And
Yeah.
actually, the reason I wanted to speak out is because actually where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
we do have some help for the family of dying, not survivors, of dying or dead people that committed suicide. But
Right.
actually, today I am reaching out because here in Quebec, I started a project that is going to be meeting Zoom meetings actually for survivors, because we don't have that in my country. So that is why today I am speaking out, and I wanted to talk to you about more about the project. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Wow. I knew I wanted to do this podcast last year, but I was just curious, what else is out there? And you're right, whether it was on podcasts or social media groups or wherever else or local in person organizations, there was a fair amount, fortunately, for loss survivors,
yes,
right? And that's great. I mean, very good.
it's amazing. Yes,
Right. But very little for attempt survivors. Sometimes you would find stuff kind of connected to like addiction recovery, maybe a
yes,
subset of that, but not its own thing.
exactly. So
So,
that's why I actually speak with professional in my region. It's called the traverse. Actually, it means like it's for people that have suicide thoughts, and
hmm
they do prevention. Okay, it's a suicide crisis hotline. Okay, and
hmm
actually, I've been trying to call multiple times in my country, those hotlines. I really tried to reach out because when I got out of the hospital, actually, I wanted to talk to survivors, but I couldn't find anyone willing to speak with me or any associations.
hmm
So that really, for me, that it really frustrated me, because we're in 2021 and suicide, we should talk about this, yes, but we need more survivors that speak together, or like in group chat or whatever, in like Zoom videos. So that's why today I am reaching out. So maybe
Right.
other people would like to join me
hmm
in those conferences.
Wow. So great. That's so great. So are you comfortable going back a little bit wherever? So there's more than one story here. One of the stories or parts of the stories is how you survived and are now actually taking these kind of bold steps to create spaces for people who are dealing with this. I'm also curious, however you want to start this other part of the story in your 24 years, what led up to last month?
Actually, I have personality limit disorder. It's a very common mental issue. It's like you're scared of talking to people. I do have generalized anxiety. I have ADHD. I have PTSD. I have
hmm
minor depression, which is really hard for me to do all of my mom work, if you want,
hmm
at all the time. Actually, so really, what really triggered that feeling of helpless. It's that, I mean, I've been raped a month ago, so that is why I couldn't trust anyone anymore. So that's what happened.
Okay, so and I don't mean to spend an unnecessary amount of time on difficult things,
It's
but
fine.
but just so I'm clear, you grew up in Montreal,
I did.
right? And you're dealing with stuff.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not minimizing. It's different stuff. And as time goes on, for like most people, it gets harder and harder.
Yes.
And then you start to get some of these diagnoses, which it sounds like you agree with.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. I do have problems and I'm
Yeah.
taking care of myself. But, it's, yes.
About 6 years ago, you have your first child.
Yes,
And then not that long after, you have a second child.
exactly.
And mothering is difficult from what you're sharing. Well, like it is
Yes,
for most people, right? So you were assaulted last month and around the same time you tried.
yes.
Do you attribute it to the assault or because you said something else, you had no one to talk to about it?
No, I couldn't. I never felt like I could.
So if you had people that you could trust that were people you could talk to about it, do you think that may have helped you not try?
Yes. And I mean, alcohol is a very, very dangerous thing for me because I was 13 years old when I began to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And at 17, I found out I was pregnant. So I stopped drinking. I was not pregnant at that time, but I was drinking heavily again and again. So if I wouldn't have a drink that night, I wouldn't even consider to kill myself. I would have hurt myself with knives and all of those stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which I did at the time, but I never tried to kill myself ever. I was thinking about it, but I never committed.
So what do you think was different about that night? Because so you're drinking, but you wasn't the first time you drank.
No, exactly. But I was feeling depressed a lot that night because my kids were gone, because I was thinking about the assault, because I didn't have friends, because
Mhm.
I was feeling so alone. It's like I couldn't breathe anymore. I couldn't speak. I couldn't talk. I never
Mhm.
felt like I could have speak to someone that actually would have understand what I was going through. So that's why I'm looking for survivors to speak to. Because I know there's a lot of people right now that listen that feels maybe the same way.
Yeah, that just makes it so clear. There's bad stuff that happens, but there's also the thing about not being able to talk about it.
Exactly.
And most people, I don't want to suggest ever anything, all people, a lot of people would probably not try if they had people in their lives. I think I'm going to add something to what you said, not just to talk to, but to talk to in a way where they feel like this person isn't judging them
Exactly.
and isn't doing all the things that are so often done, even by people who care about us, that sort of invalidate, right? And
Yes.
there's a long list of those things that we do, like we try to fix them and we try to diagnose them and this and that. I wonder, do you think survivors are more likely to be better listeners because of what you've all gone through?
The association actually that I submitted my project to, they actually told me they do have some papers stating that they finished their school. They have the needs. They know what they're doing. But maybe this person didn't commit suicide. So, hotlines for crisis and all of these stuff is very good. But if you don't live it, if you didn't do it, or if you didn't try, I do think maybe it's a little bit less easy for that person to understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not judging them. I'm just stating that maybe it could be a little trigger for them to understand, to accept, to not judge. But it's okay because every people is different, and now it's fine. But it's just for us survivors. To accept what we did. Sometimes it's kind of hard to explain that to our family again and again. They don't. Well, mine actually, they did understand that I talked to them and I said, do not treat me any different because I did that. I don't want that. Just because it's gonna be harder for me to survive after that if you're treating me differently now because I did that. I don't want to feel like I'm that little fragile thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I told my family.
And how did they respond to that?
Actually the first time that I called, my mom actually had a phone call from the ambulance and the police, and they found me in my bath unconscious. So the first person was my mom.
You called her when you were that night?
I sent her a text. I said, I'm about to do something stupid. Call 911 because I'm not going to do it. My mom never has her phone with her, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If the ambulance were not there, I would have died.
So the ambulance got there fairly soon after that.
5 minutes.
Wow, that is very quick. Good.
Yes.
And they take you to the hospital, and you had said that you were in a coma for 2 days. And who else knows other than your mom? I'm thinking about your children or other family or friends.
My ex knows it, the father of the children,
Mm-hmm.
my dad,
Mm-hmm.
my sister, which I don't talk to her. Like there's a lot of people that knows what happened, but not a lot of people know why. That's the thing.
And now more people will know why.
Exactly.
I
Like
mean,
it's
some
fine with
people.
me.
Sometimes I think it's easier to tell people who don't know like strangers than family and friends. It's different.
Exactly. Well, today I wanted to reach out, and I'm here for that, and I'm not hiding anything, and I'm ready to talk whatever it needs to be said because
Yeah.
it has to come out.
What else about what led you up to that do you think is something people who are hearing this who might be in a similar space, like
Yeah.
what else do you want to talk about with respect to, because I always think people that hear this, a lot of them, whether they've tried or they're thinking about it or they're just down or however they find the podcast, they want to feel less alone. And so I always ask people or often ask them, what about your experience do you think sort of overlaps with people's who might be hearing this? So you shared some stuff. I'm just wondering, sort of an open-ended question of, are there other things you want to share about?
The reason.
Yeah, the reason, what led up to it, yeah.
Well, it's a good thing that you are sitting down right now because actually,
I'm sitting.
um, yeah, you are. Um, I've been cutting myself since almost 10 years. I have anorexia, bulimia for about 10 years.
Mm,
I have mental depression, chronic depression since I'm about 17 or 18. I suffered a lot from heartbroken and rapes, and because I actually been raped 2 times
mm,
in almost 2 years. So my life was actually really hard for me to continue like that. So I mean, that was the bottom line. Like that night I could have cared less what was gonna happen to me. I said to myself, if I'm not waking up, it's because there's gonna be a reason for that. And right now I woke up. My first thought when I woke up that morning was, fuck, I missed myself. I'm not dead. I was mad. But that nurse actually looked at me and she opened the windows. The sky was so blue. The birds were more beautiful. The wind was smelling better. The colors were more bright. And then I felt lucky to survive my suicide attempt about the fifth day after I woke up.
mm,
And the first time, because I was in the psychiatric unit for about 2 weeks, when I got out, the first time that I felt the air on my skin, I said to myself, that's the last time that I'm gonna try that.
mm,
Because I felt lucky. And
mhm.
actually, now I'm praying morning and the night before going to sleep, before eating. I'm considering myself very, very, very lucky. I mean, if you can see it, I got a satanic tattoo on my. I really thought that all people were bad because of my past. So actually, it's kind of a weird situation because right now I am praying. It's very a weird situation for people that listen, but I didn't believe. I didn't, but now I do. There is there is something because I could have died.
Yeah, and people won't be able to see this, but I'm going to share this with them if it's okay. So Elodie has sort of an upside down cross as a tattoo, which I think is a sort of satanic image. And then a few inches away on a necklace is that same cross upright, which I think is something that you've just recently started wearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was after you were
Yeah.
saved?
Yes. After I got out of the psychiatric hospital, I
And,
went and bought the necklace.
and so some people would be like, all right, I got lucky, really lucky, right?
Yeah.
If they wanted to live. I mean, if they didn't want to live, maybe they'd say they were unlucky. But you're saying, no, it wasn't luck. It was some sort of, I'll use the word divine intervention. That's one way to put it, right? Something from above stepped in. So,
I think it was.
and until that point in your life, did not believe, or you had stopped believing.
I never believed
Mm-hmm.
ever in my life, because all I've knew was suffering, abuse, traumatic episodes, rejection, abandonment. I felt so alone, and I'm actually writing a lot of music. So yeah.
Given all that, though, you had never tried before.
Before, I was near the coma because I was drinking too much.
A different kind, it's sort of a slow suicide, right?
I mean, that was the 28th December of last month. They found me in the street, half conscious, because I drank too much alcohol.
Wow, that's a
I
lot
was
of
about
booze.
to die. So, I mean,
Do you think that was a different way of killing yourself?
I think that it was an unconscious, but yes, I do think yes.
So when you're younger, would you ideate? Would you think about it, but just not do it?
Yes,
Or you
yes,
would.
yes, yes, yeah. The longer that I remembered, I was 13 years old, and I actually put a belt around my neck, and I was tightening it up
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to die. That's the last thing I remember about my youngest days.
Do your kids know what happened?
No, all they know is that mommy had some issues, and that she needed to talk to a doctor about it, and that's all they know.
So this is going to probably be a tough question.
Yes.
Does it kind of, I'm speaking sort of loosely here, freak you out thinking about how close things came to them not having you around, not having their mom?
Yeah, it was really hard. Actually, that night I was really, really intoxicated. And you got like a calendar in your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wrote on all of their birthdays, happy birthday. I left many messages and all of my passwords, and I actually signed my card for the organs donations. But yes, not seeing my kids is the most hardest thing. I mean, I've cried more because I was missing my kids at the hospital than the actual situation.
I'm going off of some things that other people have shared with me, particularly women, young women who have children, who I've talked to for this podcast. Did you think in some way that their lives would be better without you in it?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm a good mom. I'm the best mom that I've known.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm doing. I know what not to do, because some of my past was related to drugs. So I'm a very good mom.
I have no doubt.
Yes.
A couple things. One, I'm wondering, because this is rather recent, at some
Yes.
point after you get out of the hospital, which is again last month, you decide to start this project.
Yes.
Is that an epiphany, or is that something that you'd been sort of thinking about for a while, and then because of what had happened, you just took action?
Actually, when I got out of the hospital, I went online and I've searched for survivors, and I couldn't find anything. I've called many places and I couldn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that frustrated me a lot. They didn't even give me some papers to like what to do after.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of left by myself, left alone with my thoughts, and it really frustrated me. because I couldn't find anything. I couldn't talk to anyone. And I felt very much alone. So I went and looked online what and how to start a project like this.
When they let you out of the hospital, and this is not a indictment in any way of the hospital, but when they let you out, they didn't like what did they tell you? Like drink water, get sleep, see your therapist. Like, what did they tell you to do? Because if nothing, might try again. I mean, what's changed in your life, you know?
Yeah. Well, they actually gave me antidepressants, which were helping a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they still do. Yeah. So I'm seeing a therapist actually because I have PTSD because of my attempt. Sometimes I'm closing my eyes and I can see myself dying in the bath.
Mm.
So, and the bath is inside of my house, the house that my kids live in, the bath that I need to take care of my kids and I have to wash them in that bath.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got home, the first thing that I did actually, I opened the door and I went on my knees and I cried like I never cried before because I never thought I would have seen this home again. So I cried. That was like a shock. So I had to take a pill actually to calm me down. And then I took a trash bag and I went in that very bathroom and I took everything out and I put that in the trash. Actually, I talked to my therapist about repainting the walls of that bathroom. It's very hard for me to do because I'm not there yet. I'm not healed completely. I mean, it's been 31 days. So
Right. Right.
um but I mean, I've made some progress.
Mm.
A
For
lot of
sure.
progress.
How many people do you have in your life that you can talk to about these kinds of things? Maybe not
Two.
necessarily two.
Yes.
You have a therapist.
Yes.
Who's the other?
My mom.
So you can talk to her about most or all of this stuff.
There's even stuff, I mean, that she doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
as we speak, but my therapist knows most of it. Like 98%.
Yeah, it's got to be really hard for particularly parents. It must be.
Yes. Yes.
And you're a parent, so
Yes.
do you think you'll tell your children one day?
Yes.
You will.
Yes. I feel yes. Yes, because it should be not normal, I mean, but it should be something that we could have talked without being scared of talking. Like periods. Like, you know what I mean? So it should not be something to hide, but to explain so they can understand that it can happen
Mm-hmm.
and what to check the symptoms and all of these stuff that like can lead you to that situation
Why do you think people don't talk about this stuff?
because it's a really 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 hard subject.
Is
it's
it?
it, yes, it is for some people. It can be, yes, but not for me. I mean, I am talking to you right now and I'm feeling very confident and I'm
Yeah.
happy to talk to you and help you. So,
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm sure people will hear it and appreciate it too. What do you think are some myths, things that people just really don't get around? It doesn't necessarily have to be around suicide or suicide attempts.
oh,
It
I
could be
got a
around
lot of that.
ideation or just being depressed or whatever it may be. Like, however, what are some myths that you really want to tell people who are hearing this? Even though most people who are hearing this are probably
Yeah.
already on board with this stuff, but yeah, like, nah, you don't understand. You don't understand. What is some stuff?
Well, the first thing, I mean, when I woke up from my coma, the doctor said, "Do you really think it's funny?" That's what he said. I'm not lying. He said, "Do you really think it's funny?" I was so high from the meds, I couldn't talk. I couldn't even speak. I had the freaking tube down my throat. When they take it off, because they didn't know if I could have been able to breathe by my own, when they took it out, I actually said, "I have two kids. Do you really think I enjoy this?" So, I mean, one thing that someone told me actually when I got out of the hospital, that person didn't want to be mean, but she said, "You got two beautiful kids. Why would you do this?" It's not even about the kids. Sometimes you feel helpless. I am a broken person. I'm still am. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm trying to put the pieces back together that some people broke, and those kind of reflections are not helping me at all. They're putting water on the glue that's helping me to heal.
Mm.
That is not helping at all.
So to be super clear, if people are hearing this, it doesn't help when people are sort of questioning why you would make that choice.
For me, it didn't.
Right, right. We're just talking to you. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
for me, it didn't. It actually put more weight on my shoulders because I felt like at the beginning, I felt like I had almost to apologize to people for doing this. And
Right.
I could have think straight anyways. So
Yeah. Because when someone asks why would you do that? Or do you think it's funny? There's just judgment all over that.
I felt like it was, yes.
Mm.
Yes. Someone actually told me that's the funniest one, okay? Someone actually told me, you found something, how do you say that? You found a permanent solution for temporary problems.
Yes, we've heard that a lot too.
I was like, oh,
Right.
I was so insulted. So I was saying to myself, I'm never gonna talk to that to anybody else ever.
That's
That
it.
didn't help. That actually made me mad.
Yep. That's exactly right. What you just said is so true. It's that you're not only, I want to, this is me talking now to anyone listening who isn't already on board or understanding this. When you say these things, you're not only putting up a sort of wall with that person, but that person may never talk to anyone again about this stuff. So you really are, I mean, it is damaging.
It is. It is because we
Mhm.
need to talk. And I felt like I had no
Right.
one else. So I actually tried to reach out and someone told me that. And it broke my heart. The last piece remaining from my heart was broke at that moment.
When you are whatever direction this project goes, I'm feel good about it because I think you're going to demonstrate, I guess is the word, or show people, all right, this is a more helpful or empathetic or even useful way to
Yeah.
engage with people who are in this kind of pain or any kind of pain, really.
Yes. I feel like the place that I'm trying to build is not only for me but for other survivors because I never felt like I could have talked to anyone. I never
Mhm.
felt like I was being listened to. And the place that I'm trying to build right now for the survivors will not only be for them, but it's going to be for them to reach out to someone that actually understands their pain. That's what I'm trying to build because
Mhm.
for me that's the most important thing is that people can reach out when they need to. No judgment.
Yeah, one of the things about the crisis lines, which are also very valuable, but I think, of course, we want things in place to in a crisis. But what about before the crises?
Right.
Are you just going to wait until we get to a crisis and then we're going to call and then go through the whole thing? Or what about all the stuff before then?
Actually, kind of a month before, I was trying to reach out to the psychiatrist because I had been prescribed antidepressants before and I was not taking them because of my anorexia. It gave me heartburns, it gave me hot flashes. I didn't took them. So my situation actually got worse last winter. There was not a day without thinking about jumping in front of a car outside. That was really bad. That was really, really bad. And the only thing that kept me alive was my kids.
How long were you in that space where you thought about it every day like that? Months?
Since last December.
So we're talking about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be that.
I was really miserable.
Right. Did your kids have any idea that you were so miserable?
Of course not.
So you were able to put on a smiley face for them?
Of course. Yes, it's easy. I mean, the day when I tried to kill myself. Actually, that was at noon after the dinner. And that day before that morning, I went and take a walk with my friend, my only friend, actually, my only close friend near me, So I took a walk with her and she didn't see anything, but deep down, I was dying.
Mm.
I didn't want to walk outside. I was being anxious. I was shaking, but I was trying to not let her see that. I didn't want her to see me like this because I thought maybe she wouldn't understand what I was feeling. So after my walk, I went inside of the house and I cooked dinner and I didn't eat because I was so depressed. And then I opened the first bottle of wine and I actually drank that bottle in 5 minutes. And
Wow.
then I took another one and then another one and then another one. And then I decided that I was taking pills. So I actually dropped 2 pills in the sink. Okay. And the doctor told me that it could have just only take 2 pills for me more to die. So what happened is just circumstantial. You know what I mean?
But you've also suggested that it might not be just circumstantial. It might be
Yes.
higher powers. So, well,
Yeah,
both.
I think it is. I
Mhm.
think it is both of that. So I'm just happy to be alive and I would be really, really happy to being able to talk like to a crowd of people, or I don't know, like to talk about my experience, to share with others that everything is possible, even though you don't think it is. I really thought that there is nothing I couldn't do for that. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't. I really thought that I was alone.
Can I share something that might not be comfortable or popular?
Yes.
It sounds like in some ways you were alone.
Yeah, I was.
It wasn't just faulty thinking because of depression or alcohol. You were alone.
Yeah.
I know that maybe not a popular thing because I hear that a lot. You're never alone. You're never alone. I don't want to be a jerk ever, right? I don't. But I want to say sometimes, you know what? That person really is alone. I spend a lot of my life alone. So when someone says, well, you're not alone, I think, no, I kind of am.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I need to do harm to myself, but let's just have a real conversation about my actual life or your actual life. A lot of it's spent
Exactly.
alone and it's challenging.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about your life and you say that you want to talk about it. You're doing it right now, obviously, or
Yeah.
maybe to groups of people in person, and you've got this organization project that you've begun. To people who are hearing this, who are not necessarily the people who have tried or might try, but are people who maybe know somebody. What would you say to people who might be in a position to support, but either don't know how or don't know what to say, don't know what to do? Any ideas? I know it's a very broad question and a
It's a
difficult.
very actually it's an easy question.
Good.
I would say call a crisis hotline and take all of the information about that people and talk about that people. If you're having some problems with that person and if you think that person might be in trouble, there is signs.
Hmm.
There is signs. I mean, and then you can call a hotline for that.
Hmm.
And then they can help you with the steps and what to say and not to say.
For people who might be thinking about doing what you tried to do last month,
Yeah.
I think this is a really tough one because you don't know them and everybody's got their own particular story with situation,
Yeah.
everything's circumstances are different. And let me back up for a second. Are you comfortable with the idea that suicide is a choice people have, or do you feel like, no, that's not a choice that you should consider?
It's a choice.
Yeah,
It's an option.
right.
And you should consider it very carefully. Very carefully. But in my opinion, that night, I couldn't consider anything else. That was the only option for me. So, depending on what that person might be experiencing,
Hmm.
it could escalate very quickly because 1 second I was drinking, the other one I was dying. So sometimes you feel like you don't have a choice. And sometimes you don't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
It comes too quickly for you to see. That's what happened to me that night. It was too quick for me to even call someone.
This is why guns are especially dangerous, right? Because unlike
Exactly.
pills, guns, it's just
One shot.
often, right? Often. What's the likelihood that you'll try again?
Zero. No,
Zero.
no. I have, like I said, I'm a very materialistic person. I like nice things. I like buying myself nice clothes, nice purses. Actually, since I woke up, I'm actually walking outside
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in the forest. I like birds. I like the sky is bluer. The grass smells good. The birds are singing and it's beautiful. The air is more fresh. I feel like I have a second chance right now and I'm gonna use it as I'm gonna do the more good that I can until I die naturally. That's my mission. And my mission is to help people. And if they let me a chance, I know I can be a good person to come to because I got no judgments.
Right.
I'm a very free person. I'm never gonna judge anyone.
Yeah.
So no, suicide is not an option anymore, but I do get people that think is the only way.
Do
I
you have a name
understand.
for your organization or the project?
Well, in French, I know how to say that in French, but actually in English, I'm not that very good in English, but it sounds like I'm speaking fluently English, but I'm really trying here.
You're doing great. What is it in French?
C'est Association des survivants du suicide.
How do we track?
Association survivors of suicide. ASS.
Mhm.
S.
That's great. I actually like the way it sounds in French much better than English.
Yes.
Generally speaking, French is just better than English, I think. We love French here. We just romanticize French. We think, oh my God, it's French. It sounds so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no.
What else do you want to share? I could probably talk about these things for hours and hours about your stuff, what you're doing, whatever you want. What else would you like to share?
Actually, there is the after suicide. You have to find something that really gets you, like music, like writing. Personally, I wrote everything on the book every time I'm sad. And then at the end of the week, I put that paper in the bin and I burn it. So it actually helps me
Hmm.
because usually I would cut myself. And I'm not doing that anymore because I started that. So,
Really? Okay.
yes,
I like that. And other than being a mom, what do you enjoy doing?
I actually like music.
Yeah.
I write a lot of music.
You write the music?
Yes,
Like lyrics or the music?
yes, lyrics. Really enjoy it.
Is there a particular kind of music or genre that you
Pop, rap,
rap or rock?
rap,
All right. Little French rap. Cool.
English, rap.
Really?
Not French because I'm having some issues to write in French because I always wrote my lyrics in English.
All right. You want to, yeah. Are you confident to share any right now?
Right now, I do have a project that I'm working on, so I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I want to hear it. And if you don't want to rap it and you just want to say it, that's cool. I think the words matter because I'm sure you're writing about things that are related to these conversations.
Yes, I do, and actually, my music helped me to get off some very bad thoughts sometimes, and
Sure.
it helps me really talk about my past because most of my problems are actually related to my past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I often say when I'm talking to people for this podcast, I'm glad, although I don't love that word. Glad is the word I'll choose that your suicide attempt failed.
Yeah.
You're alive. No doubt your children, among others, are better for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say to anyone that listens is that even though you think your world is falling apart, there is always some bricks anywhere that you can find to put your house back together. It might take some time and it may be hard to build something back up again, but it's doable if you have the great resources to do it. You can put that back house together and be better. You can do it. If I did, you can. You can. If I did, you can. Really, that's all I have to say.
That's enough. Elodie in Montreal, merci.
You're welcome.
How's my pronunciation? Bad, right? Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Okay, Elodie, stay safe. Thank you once again. And
thank you so much for having me today. And I hope I could help a little bit.
You did. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to pronounce this as best I can. You ready?
Yeah.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day. Take care.
Have a good day.
Bye. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Eloide up in Montreal. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to share your story, I'd love to talk. Please reach out, hello@suicidenoted.com or on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. That is all for episode number 57. Stay strong. Do the very best you can. I'll talk to you soon.